Just a chronic lack of development, lack of contributions to mankind. No inventions, no philosophers, no true great masterpiece. If half of Africa was super developed or halfway developed and the other half wasn't, maybe you'd have an argument whether they got colonized or not. Whether they got freed from slavery in 1800 or in 1860. It's the same story everywhere. There's not one written language among them. They don't have books. They don't have words. And there's billions of black people. They do have that lower level of development, and I think that's why they underperform.
Dear black people, be mindful of the kind of words that comes out of your mouth. Saying that you are slaves or descendant of slaves means that the legacy of colonialism is still here and still affects the mind of black people. The kind of words that comes out of our mouth usually is an offshoot of what goes on in our minds, in our heads, what we think. Even though we may not be in chains physically, it still means that mentally we are still in chains. Remember, when the colonizers came, when the Arab invaders came, they did not meet slaves. They met scientists, astronomers, entrepreneurs, traders, musicians, architects, fathers, mothers, children, and they turned them into slaves. Remember that.
I was thinking on my own self, this biggest lie they told black people, they told Africans, and these lies have been affecting the daily life of a typical African. It has been affecting the daily life of a typical black person. Why? Because there is this one lie that has caused a lot of damage. And this lie is what I call the lie of inferiority. Now, family, let me ask you a question. What is the most dangerous weapon ever used against black people, as you think? What is the whip, the chains, the guns, the prisons? Because personally, my answer will surprise you. Okay? The most dangerous weapon was not made on iron or, steel. It was not carried on ships. It was not strapped on soldiers. But the most dangerous weapon was the idea. And that idea was a lie. And that lie was that black people are inferior. I think that is the most lie that have damaged a lot of Africans. That is the most lie that have damaged a lot of black people. Okay? Because that means we are less intelligent, we are less capable, we are less human, that we have no history, we have no greatness, we have no worth. That is the biggest lie ever told to black people. Personally, tell me what's your lie. Tell me what's your lie. Now, that's what I'm going to talk about. But before I go down, I want you to watch these clips here and then we come and we continue.
If I were to ask you right now, all of you, what color is the devil? I want you to answer that question to yourself. Let me guess. Most of you said black, didn't you? Then I'm going to ask you another question. What color are the angels? Let me guess. Most of you said white. Who has seen either? And yet we accept it. So you take a group of people, you say the color black is associated with the devil. Everything bad is black. Everything undesirable is black. You take a group of people and say you too are black. No matter how we try as black mothers to raise our children at home and tell them you're black and you're beautiful, the minute they step foot outside that door, they are immersed in nothing but negativity about that which they represent. How do you raise a child with good self-esteem in such a world? Some of our leaders, people who are supposed to represent us, when they sit across the table with others who don't look like them, they automatically feel inferior. It is a serious problem. It starts right there. The failure to stand up and defend that which you believe in, and defend that which is blatantly wrong.
I mean, imagine, you go all around the world and smash up everything that other civilizations built, loot what they built, pillage, steal, even steal their ideas and their concepts and their philosophies. And then you sit on top of this mountain of stolen goods and declare yourself to be rich because of your own merit. And imagine telling this lie to your children, to your own children, to your grandchildren, generation after generation. How do you think that's going to go? You didn't invest in creating actual merit. You cheated, you lied, you stole, you brutalized. And then you tell your own people that everyone else in the world has nothing and you have everything because of how much better you are than everyone else. How long is that lie sustainable? I mean, these are people who actually have civilizations, who actually created and built and accomplished and didn't just pillage and plunder. And there's still those people today, even though you have oppressed them, there's still those same people. And you're still the way you are. I mean, a good example actually is African Americans. I don't know if you can think of a people who were more held back, more deprived, more sabotaged than African Americans. You took everything away from them and took them away from everything. They started in your country at less than zero, literally regarded and treated as subhuman, not allowed to learn to read or write or anything for hundreds of years. But you see, they come from a people of accomplishment to one degree or another, not a people of piracy and theft and appropriation. They come from a people who created and built and developed in their own countries, in their own land. And even though you did everything that you could possibly do to suppress them, to hold them down, to hold them back, and you're still doing that until today, nevertheless, I don't think anyone can dispute the fact that African Americans have become a global cultural superpower. And people like this, with a history like this, with a legacy like this, simply cannot be held back for any length of time by a people who do not have a similar history, people who have never actually invested in their own civilizational development. And that's the West. You're going to get left behind. You're going to get surpassed, and you are going to end up being nothing more than a footnote in history.
Black African friends, we've got a few in our class, but it's very difficult to communicate with them. They seem to close up any time you try to talk to them, and we do go out of our way to make them feel at home. But I think so many of them have been rebuffed by other whites that they feel that they can't speak to anybody else. They don't seem to realize that not everybody's the same. We've all got different opinions.
If you had a black African friend, would you take him home?
Well, I wouldn't mind it, no.
No, I think this is very frowned upon. I had a friend who felt very sort of friendly with Africans. And he once came into our home and he sort of shook hands with my houseboy, you know, sort of speaking to him. And my mother sort of said, look, what's he trying to do, you know? Why is he trying to go to extremes about things? I think it is fairly well frowned upon. But I must say that I do know one African who I probably respect more than any other person I know.
Why?
Because he's an intelligent person and his mind is developed. When I speak to him, I speak to an intelligent person, not to an African.
To an equal?
To an equal, yes. But this is, few and far between.
Can I ask?
Genetics aren't sorted by race. I can send you 3 academic studies about this right now. They're sorted by something called clines, and there could be more genetic similarity between you and some very black guy in Africa that you hate than there could be between you and me, 2 white people. Because race does not determine your genetics, clines do. Do you want the studies right now? I can send you 3 right now.
You really love that Jew science, don't you? So how come it took a bunch of white people, how come it took a bunch of Deutsch people going to Africa to actually make agriculture, build farms, grow food? When the black people weren't doing that. For thousands of years they've been there.
What do you mean, dude? Agriculture originated in like Mesopotamia and then went into North Africa.
Read the bell curve. I'm done talking to you.
All right, man.
In other words, if you put blacks under the most vicious, the most savage oppression throughout the start of the enslaving period, what gene line would be left other than a very strong gene line? I think it's ridiculous to think that, in a biological sense, that weak gene lines would not be wiped out after giving the worst food, the worst medical care, and so forth. I think what people really want to do is read into Jimmy the Greek's statement to say that, well, blacks are only good at athletics, and blacks can't be good at quarterbacks or at management. But he did not say that. I think you're programmed to read into it black inferiority, because that's what you're used to seeing. And I don't know what his intentions were even.
So how do we reprogram that so we don't think that blacks are inferior?
Well, you just have to stop being racist by first encountering your racism and seeing first that maybe you should be a little afraid of a people that you've attempted to commit genocide against. Not only then, but now.
The two most important tools for colonial mental slavery is religion and education. Religion is used to introduce the bondage, and education is used to make sure you remain in that bondage. With education, they give you a certificate in your bondage. They give you a PhD. They give you a professor. So you become a professor in your prison. And with this, even when the prison door is open, you will never go out. You will use your professorial power to defend your prison. And that is why, because you are now attached to the identity they give you. When you hear somebody suggesting there's a problem with the education, you will fight the person because you are seeing it as the person taking away your identity without knowing that that identity is of slavery. Now, as powerful as education is, the one that the colonial masters gave us have nothing to do with that power and everything to do with the conformity. So why do they do that? They did it because they needed us to be subjugated so that every year they will be coming here to pick people here and balance their population. So when they have an issue, you will see them change their immigration laws and Nigerians will start jumping because they need us to come over. Because when we realize who we are, we won't be traveling there to get better life. They know that. So they want to ensure that we are conformed to a pattern so that they will always come here for human shopping, human slavery. So we better watch it so that we can still have a future here.
So I was raised that Black people were God's favorite and they were the superior race. And it was interesting to be raised with that mentality because I think it's different than a lot of how other white people were raised. And I do believe that if more people were raised this way, the world would be a little bit better of a place and maybe we can get along a little bit nicer together. Obviously, there's pros and cons to everything. So I would love to discuss the pros and cons of what it was like to be raised with this mentality, as well as what you think about it and what you think we should do going forward to raise the next generation of children who are carrying the future for us. So how this mentality came about, I was really quizzical and curious as a child and very outspoken. It's interesting to look back now that we're in this ginger talk right now. I'm kind of reliving a few of the silly little traumas that we faced as gingers. And I noticed that I was more outspoken between the ages of 0 and 8. And once I started getting really made fun of as a ginger, I kind of lost my voice and I wasn't as brave or outspoken and I was shy and timid. So it's kind of interesting to have that realization now, so many years later. Anyway, back to the important topic here. The way that this mentality was brought on to me was, as I said, I was very outspoken and, I was quizzical and curious as a child. So before the age of 6, I asked my mom, why do we call them Black people when they're more different shades of brown? And I asked her, why do people treat them differently or call them names? What does this mean? Why is this happening? And how do you explain race and racism to a child that is under the age of 6 in a way that they can understand? Because obviously they're not going to be able to comprehend or grasp the entirety of the depth of what racism really truly is. So how do you explain that to a child? She knew that I loved my brownies and my cookies baked a little bit longer than you're supposed to, because the crispy edge of the brownie was always my favorite. And I loved when the chocolate chip cookie was a little bit crispy on the outside and a little gooey on the inside. And that was the perfect way to bake the cookies and bake the brownies. So she used that analogy. And yes, it sounds crazy, but as a 4-year-old child, it made perfect sense. And she used that analogy and she said, you know how you like your cookies and your brownies baked a little bit extra? That's kind of what God did with Black people. He took more time and more love into creating Black people. And that's why they're a little bit darker than you. He just baked them a little bit longer. That's how she described race to me. And she said that anybody who talks badly about them or is mean to them is just jealous. So right away, I was kind of just like completely infatuated and just in awe of Black people, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it like to be God's favorite? What is it like to, just be loved a little bit more from God? Like, I just thought it was incredible and amazing. And so I always just gravitated towards Black people because I was like, oh my God, like they're so lucky. Do they know how lucky they are? Like, how cool is it that God spent a little bit more time on them? I was fascinated by it. And
welcome back. Now, let me start with this. This lie of inferiority, that Black people are inferior, has been repeated for centuries. It has been built into systems, educations, religion, media, and even history books. And yet, it is completely false. Okay? Now, everything that we have been told about Black inferiority was designed to suppress, to control, or make Black people or make Africans doubt our own power. Let me start with this one. At the beginning, the idea that Black people are inferior is not natural. It was created centuries ago when European colonizers invaded Africa, when they enslaved Africans and stole our own wealth. They needed a way to justify their crime. They said, Black people are less than human. They are weak. They are stupid. They are meant to serve. Now, what will they do? Think about this. This is not about truth. It's not about control. It's not about truth. This is about slavery. This is about colonization. This is about control. This is about systematic oppression. Okay? All was depending on one lie: to convince Black people that they are less than. To convince Black people or to convince Africans that they wouldn't rise up. And even after slavery, the narrative continued. In school, textbook painted Africa as dark continent, as savage, as backward, and they made us glorify Europe like something else. They made us glorify Europeans like something else. The lie didn't even stay in textbook alone, but it entered our minds through religion, through science, and through culture. We were brainwashed. That was the biggest lie. Personally, I think it is one of the biggest lies ever told to Africans. Science was used as a weapon too. At one point, so-called scientists claimed Black people were biologically inferior. And they measured skulls, they compared intelligence, they created theories of racial hierarchies. And these studies were not objective. These studies were biased, they were racist, and deliberately false. Okay? Even the IQ tests that were designed to prove Black inferiority were built with white culture bias. Okay? So when some people claim that Black people are less intelligent, remember this: intelligence tests were weaponized against Black people. It was weaponized against us. Now, the truth is that Black people have produced some of the greatest minds, greatest inventors, greatest leaders in the human history. Okay? From Imhotep, the African architect and the doctor of ancient Egypt, all the way to George Washington Carver, all the way to Katherine Johnson, who helped put men on the moon. So Black brilliance cannot be denied. We sing it up to now. Black excellence cannot be denied. You can just tell a lie, but that lie can never stand forever. Another way this lie survive is by erasing our achievement as Black people. Nowhere is written. Nowhere we're being told that our people were living here, discovered here, were created this. Because of this, because it was erased. History books that covered on or focus on discovery of Africa, of European colonization, the empire we built, Mali, Songhai, Great, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, all of these are nowhere to be seen. So they erased our achievement. They erased our books. They erased our history so that our children that are being born to believe that lie that we as black people are inferior indeed. Let's talk about art. Let's talk about science, philosophy, governance, flourish. All of these grew in Africa. All of these flourished in Africa long before Europe claimed modernity. And the world wants you to forget this. The world wants you as an African to forget that you are great. But the truth is undeniable because black people were never inferior. Black people, we were robbed of recognition. We were robbed of our knowledge. We were robbed of our power hidden. Now, this lie doesn't only exist in books or history, but it lives inside our oblongata. It lives inside the minds of black people. Many of us, including me, grew up internalizing inferiority. Grew up knowing that guy, black people, even we will not go to heaven. Black people does not supposed to sit down while white man is there or white woman is there. People supposed to greet a white man with both hands. Some psychological impact. That lie created a psychological impact within black people. It lived inside our minds. And many people grew up with that. Okay? Grew up with that. Grew up knowing that as Africans, we are less capable. Black people, we are less capable. It's only them who can do everything. We were studying so hard to go to Europe, sit with white people. I don't know what I was thinking back then. I really don't understand what was eating my head to believe that I am less than other. I'm not saying that they are bad. No. Don't use that word. But I'm saying I am who I am. I am the superior. And that the psychological war has made a lot of, black people does not have self-love. Africans do not have self-love. So every time you say that I am capable, every time you pursue your dreams, every time you teach the truth to your children, you break the chains of the lie. Because the lie want us not to talk about this. The lie want us not to teach our children. The lie want us not to succeed. And that's why today I've said, let me expose this lie. Because up to now, it's affecting a lot of people. Not believing in yourself, believing you need to go in Europe to succeed. Believing when you see a white man, when you see a white lady, then your life is okay. You get some dollars. Let's expose the lie completely. Because that lie, the lie that black people are inferior, is built on one thing: manipulation of history. Manipulating of history is by erasing African achievement, by erasing that Africans were the one who built Great Zimbabwe, by erasing that Africans were the one who built Pyramid, by erasing Kemet, by erasing Great Zimbabwe, by erasing Timbuktu. Number two, to expose with this lie completely, we need to watch out. This lie, apart from being built on manipulation, it is built on pseudoscience. Okay? Skewed studies designed to humiliate black people. It's based on media control, economic suppressions, keeping us poor every day. The truth is, black people are very, very much powerful. The truth is, black people are very intelligent. The truth is, black people are very creative and resilient. Our skin, our culture, our identity, and our history are not signs of inferiority. They are signs of greatness. Yes. They are signs of greatness. I lived all my life I will say, not as a youth, I'm still a youth, yeah? I'm not old. As a young boy, living of all this, black people, blah, 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 you cannot do this. Now, apart from that lie, we have a lot of lies but I was focusing on this lie of inferior. But I will touch on some other lies so that we see at least maybe there's a lie you see it's bigger than the other one. Number two, personally, I think a lie of religion, okay? Because religion has been used as one of the most powerful tools to convince black people that we are inferior, okay? Because many were taught that blackness was a curse. Many were taught that suffering, that poverty or oppression was somehow deserved, that we must wait for salvation, remaining obedient to systems built to suppress us. We have Christians here, we have Muslims here, we have Hindus here, we have, all kind of spirituality. But believe me, at the end of the day, some people are using our religion badly, in a bad way, okay? Think about this. God or the divine does not discriminate spirituality. It is not about skin color. It's about connection. It's about consciousness and truth. And many African spiritual systems were demonized. Many traditional African religions were called pagans, okay? And white religion were glorified. They created a belief that our heritage and identity were lesser than. But truth is, our spiritual systems taught community. Our spiritual systems taught wisdom and leadership, okay? And they valued life. They valued nature. They valued knowledge. They were never inferior. They were sabotaged and they were suppressed, okay? Next thing is media. The world you see on TV, on movies, on online is carefully created or carefully curated because it tells you that black people are criminals, lazy, violence, tells you that Africans are poor like this. But this is not reality. The images are selective, designed to make black people believe that we are less valuable. When black excellence is portrayed, our artists, scientists, leaders is often ignored, often minimized or stolen. And this is why representation matters. Seeing black success, intelligence, and innovations breaks the lie that every story of achievement counters centuries of programming designed to keep us thinking small. They are using economic oppression. Economic systems have, been used to enforce the myth of inferiority. For years, black people have been denied access to wealth, access to land, to resources, even up to today. Systems barriers exist, limited access to education, bias in hiring, unequal pay. These systems are designed to make us dependent and powerless, reinforcing the lie that we cannot thrive. But the truth is simple. When given resources, opportunity, and freedom, black people excel. Look at African nation today. Look at black entrepreneurs. Look at scientists. Look at innovators across the globe. The myth of inferiority crumbles under the weight of real achievement. A lot of stereotypes were passed around that black people are lazy, black people are violent, black people are unintelligent. History have erased contribution of black people to science, to art, to philosophy. So every stereotype is a weapon meant to limit our potential as black people. And the moment we recognize that, the moment we see through it, we begin to unlearn inferiority. Okay? So, we are not less. We have a lot of black excellence that maybe you don't know. For example, black people are brilliant and capable beyond measure in science. We have Katherine Johnson. We have George Washington Carver. We have Dr. Charles Trio. We have Mae Jemison. In leadership, we have people like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. We have in arts people like Maya. We have, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. These are Africans too. In sports, we have a lot. Serena Williams, Michael Jordan, name them. So all of these people I've mentioned, or they are just proof that the lie of inferiority is completely false. And this achievement didn't happen despite being black. They happened because of black brilliance. Now, how do we overcome this lie? This is the question we need to answer at the end of this video. How are we going to overcome this lie? Educate ourselves. That's number one. Number two, we have to reclaim our narrative, reclaim our identity. You have to know what is in Africa. Number three, we have to support each other. Unite. Unity is the key to overcome the lie. Number four, it is to challenge stereotypes. Because of all these stereotypes, we need to show them that we gotta go wherever we go. So every action we take to assert our worth is resistance to a lie that has controlled us for centuries. Even now, the lies persist. The lies persist even now. Social media, entertainment, politics, they all continue to enforce the message of inferiority. But right now, we have tools to fight back. Black media platform, independent education, technology, global connection. We are witnessing a global awakening. Black people are rising everywhere, claiming their power, their identity. You are here, you know that. So me talking just to you is a global awakening. Now, tell me what you think on the comment section. Which is the biggest lie, But personally, I know we are not inferior. Of course, we are the chosen ones.